Welcome to the premiere of season 26 of SportsZone. We are back and we're ready to go. I'm your host, Steven Lucero, joined by Cade Codina and our resident Seahawks fan, Luke Rimler. So, guys, if you haven't noticed, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl. The Seahawks defeated the Patriots 29-13 in Super Bowl 60. Cade, what did you see from that game, and what did you see from Seattle?
Low-key, from like the most unpredictable season of all time in my recent memory, this very predictable. I mean, Seahawks dominated, Seahawks were heavy favorites, and Seahawks basically just controlled the entire game. It starts in the trenches. I think the O-line for the Seahawks held up well enough against the Patriots, pretty solid defensive line. But I think the key here was the Seahawks defensive line. That was the key to winning this game, and that's been their key the entire season. They're two monsters at the defensive tackles, Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy. They've been elite this whole season, and they were the big reasons why Seahawks were able to control this game. They controlled the run. They were able to break up plays whenever the Patriots try to do anything at all. And I think the Seahawks, they're just a very well-balanced team. I think, in my mind, nothing about the Seahawks outside of JSN and Devon Witherspoon screams elite, but they're just very, very competent and very well-balanced in everything they do.
Luke, what do you have to say about that?
I like to disagree. I think I would sit here and name off the stars of the defense.
Homer here.
But I would name you the entire defense. So I'm not going to sit here and name 11 guys because they're all elite. You have Nicky Manwari, who's going to be amazing, DPOY in his future, best defense in the league. You can argue the Texans, you can argue the Broncos, but you're not going to argue with me. It's the Seattle Seahawks, the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks, and Drake May can't do anything on us. MVP runner-up, nothing to us. Seattle Seahawks, Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, guys, the Seahawks defense was absolutely incredible in this game. We saw it all season long, but the way they played against New England, absolutely shutting down the second-best offense in the league, and as you said, the MVP runner-up, Drake May. Seattle's defense has been incredible, the so-called dark side defense, right, Luke? So I want to ask you, I mean, we've heard so much about the Legion of Boom from the days of past, and now the dark side defense, how does it compare?
Right. They're not the Legion of Boom by any means. The Legion of Boom, I think, is one of the best defenses of all time, if not the best. This defense is really good. This is a really, really solid defense. Legion of Boom was something special, though. You're not going to get that really any other time. And this is a really good defense, but I think they need to do a lot more to prove themselves to become one of the great defenses like the Legion of Boom is.
Yeah, good start, though. Super Bowl led by Mike McDonald. He was incredible. And then, I mean, just defensively forcing turnovers, forcing Drake May, an MVP finalist, the runner-up, just looking silly out there. Cade, what went wrong for the Patriots defense and Drake May?
It starts in the trenches. I've seen it all year because I'm a Texans fan, and it happened to C.J. Stroud in the playoffs, and it happened this past Sunday to Drake May. You really can't do anything when your offensive line gives you 2 seconds to do anything under the pocket. I mean, and then you couldn't rely on the running game because they were getting stuffed up. So what are you going to do on offense? It starts in the trenches. I say it every time because I am a Texans fan, and it happened to C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud and Drake May are very talented, but there's not much you can do when you're not a Lamar Jackson, when you can just scramble all around. So I don't really think the fault goes to Drake May. Drake May didn't play well. Yes, he didn't make the throws he could have, but how is he going to do that when he doesn't have time?
Yeah, absolutely. Drake May definitely missed some throws in this game, and that was apparent and really was detrimental for the Patriots. But if you look at the left side of that offensive line, the rookie left tackle, Will Campbell, was absolutely on his back in that game. How much of an impact did that Seattle defensive line make on him, Luke?
I mean, yeah, Will Campbell, I mean, it had been happening all playoffs where, I mean, if you go anywhere online, you see no Patriots fan likes Will Campbell right now. And when you go up against a defensive line like that, you had Derek Hall, 2 sacks and a forced fumble. I don't know how many sacks they had. I think it was 6 or 7, not doing that on purpose, but somewhere around that margin. Oh my goodness, when you have an offensive line like that, you're not going to get past the D-line like that. Like you said, Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy. Don't forget about DeMarcus Lawrence. Even Derek Hall, like I said, 2 sacks and a forced fumble. This entire D-line was just seeking blood all night, and it was terrible for Drake May.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a game where I think a lot of people said it was not the most exciting action-packed game, especially in that first half. But if you look at the highlights, I mean, there's one player that stuck out very clearly, and that, of course, is the Super Bowl MVP, Kenneth Murray III. Absolutely incredible in this game. Cade, what did you see from Kenneth Murray in this game?
I disagree. The MVP should have been Jason Myers, the kicker, shout out fellow Filipino. But yes, Kenneth Walker did exactly what he should have done, and what he's capable of doing is just controlling the game, being a very solid and reliable running back. He runs angry. He's a powerful running back, and Kenneth Walker just did what he needed to do. I mean, he's kind of unreliable in the pass game, but you didn't need him for that. You needed him just to get you solid yards when you just say, hey, come on, just get us some yards. And he did his job, and he did it a lot, which led to over 100 yards over 100 scrimmage yards. So I honestly, I don't think he deserved MVP. That's kind of a hot take. He did well enough, but yeah, you can disagree with me with that.
Yeah, shout out to Jason Myers. I mean, he had that game 12-0 at one point. His kicks was pretty much all we saw in the first half. But yeah, Kenneth Walker was incredible. I'm sorry I said Kenneth Murray earlier. Guys, he's haunting me from the Cowboys. But
No.
Kenneth Walker, absolutely incredible in this game. I mean, it was impressive what Seattle was able to do on the ground and really set the tone. And then, of course, in addition to the defense, it was incredible. Luke, what did you see from him? And then for Seattle as a whole, do you think they can run it back?
Yeah, starting with Kenneth Walker, I mean, it had been like that all year. I think he's one of the great backs on the ground. Like he said, not very reliable in the receiving game, but you don't really need that when you have JSN, Rashid Shaheed, Cooper Kupp, all reliable options. And everybody was worried when Zach Charbonnet went down in the divisional round towards ACL. But that just opens up the opportunity for Kenneth Walker. He can be elite if he just gets those reps. He's such a good back, and he showed that in the last 2 rounds of the playoffs. All he needed was more reps. He wins Super Bowl MVP. I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, it was impressive. And I want to talk a little bit more about the head coach, Mike Macdonald. In just his second season with the Seahawks, he becomes the third youngest coach to win a Super Bowl at just 38 years old. He was incredible. What he's been able to do in the post-Pete Carroll era, turn this team back into a contender extremely quickly. Cade, what did you see from Mike Macdonald as we hear his presser right here?
Mike Macdonald is he's the perfect coach for this team. He perfectly schemes his defense to dominate
and bring it together and us to go in the same direction.
Go to work. He relies on the talent. Mike Macdonald is just very solid. He literally just let the talent speak for itself. But yes, that defense is perfectly schemed. I think that's where his biggest strength is. And yeah, he's the perfect hire after the Pete Carroll era. You know, when you lose a legendary legacy coach like that, it's very scary where your team can go. We'll see where the Ravens go after firing John Harbaugh. But this is what happens when you do give up on those legacy coaches. You can find someone like Mike Macdonald, who has now taken this team to newer heights. Maybe he can run it back and repeat something that Pete Carroll could never do.
Yeah, Mike Macdonald, incredible. I mean, just being able to do that in just his second season. Luke, what did you see from him, and where do you think he ranks among the best NFL head coaches right now?
Yeah, I absolutely loved him in that coaching cycle. Whenever we got rid of Pete Carroll, I thought it was time for him to go. And I absolutely loved Mike Macdonald. I wanted him, and then second I wanted Ben Johnson. He ended up staying with the Lions that year. But I loved Mike Macdonald's scheme, his defense. He absolutely destroyed the Seahawks. He made Brock Purdy throw 4 picks when he was with the Ravens, and he was so good. His scheme is so good, and he still is. And like both of y'all said, he's brought the Seahawks to new heights. Super Bowl in just his second year, and he's gonna be so good. Among the coaches in the league, I think he's the defensive Sean McVay, and I'll go that far to say it in his second year.
Nah, that's D'Amico Ryans, though. That's
not
D'Amico Ryans, man.
Come on. No,
I'm a homer.
He is the defensive Sean McVay. His scheme is just so, it's unique. We've never seen it before in the league. He's just such a good coach, and I can't wait to see what else we do with Mike Macdonald. Win a couple more Super Bowls, maybe.
Hey, we'll have to see. I'll ask you, Cade, do you think Seattle has what it takes to run it back?
If a lot of the teams also are inconsistent again, and just a lot of things, it's luck. Luck is a huge part in why teams win Super Bowls. Seattle they didn't get lucky, but luck was on their side a lot of the times.
You don't want me to yell at them
you
on
never
live
want to
TV.
say never to repeat, but I personally don't see it, but I've been wrong a lot of the time, so yeah.
Luke, one word answer. Do you think they can repeat?
Yep.
There you have it. So we will see. It was an incredible Super Bowl, definitely a big-time season. So sad it's over, but it was impressive. We're going to move on, though, and talk about the Winter Olympics coming up next.
you. Yeah, you. Tax day is right around the corner, and the IRS has free resources to help you. Just visit their website or contact our volunteer income tax program at 800-906-9887. You don't want the IRS knocking at your door. Whew, I guess it's too late for you. Pay now or pay later with interest. File your taxes.
Welcome back to SportsZone. I'm your host, Steven Lucero, and we're going to talk about the Winter Olympics. They are officially live from Milan Cortina in Italy, and joining me to talk about it, I have Dominic Franks and Sam Little. Guys, it's been a pretty exciting start to the Olympics. It's been impressive, really looking at all the sports. But, you know, Team USA, 14 total medals right now, 4 gold. It's been pretty impressive. But the one storyline I do want to get to before we get into all the good stuff was Lindsey Vonn unfortunately suffers a major crash. She tried to come back. She tore her ACL just about a week ago and tried to play through it. Really an incredible job by her, able to work through the practice rounds. Everything was okay. And then in that first run of the women's downhill, unfortunately, hits the side of one of the flags, goes down, a nasty crash for her. It's going to be a full compound leg fracture. So unfortunately, that is the end of the Olympic run for the 41-year-old Lindsey Vonn. But guys, I'll ask you, playing through a torn ACL, putting it all on the line for her, you know, kind of one last run at the Olympics, Dom, what does that say about Lindsey Vonn and her legacy?
I mean, she's been doing this for a long, long time. So, I mean, in my personal opinion, is her legacy affected? I would say more on the potential of it, but not by what's happened. Yeah. She's great. She's done amazing things. And, you know, tearing your ACL is insane. The fact she was going to, you know, do stuff on it anyways, I think is an incredible speaking to her character and how much she wants to be in the Olympics. So I think her legacy isn't affected by much.
Yeah, if anything, I think it just makes it stronger. I mean, Sam, what do you think about that? And unfortunate the way it ended, but how are you feeling about Lindsey Vonn and really her toughness to go and compete?
Yeah, I'm actually going to play devil's advocate here. I think that there wasn't any reason for her to do anything else after she tore her ACL. Like you mentioned, she's 41 years old. She's one of the greatest American Olympic athletes of all time. I don't think there was any reason for her. Yes, as an athlete, I get it. They'll want to compete at the highest level, but there's nothing left for you to prove. And now that I feel like you were flirting with that fine line of, you know, toughing it out versus having an actual injury, and I think that it was almost reckless because, you know, the torn ACL, that's a life-changing injury. But then now that she decided to compete on it, she has 2 life-changing injuries. And I think that with these surgeries, they said it was going to be, you know, more than one surgery to fix it. And I think that I just think that it was reckless. And I think that when you try to go against Father Time's always going to win. So hopefully, you know, because this is a major injury, so it's going to affect her for the rest of her life. I think that maybe think twice about it because your legacy was already cemented. But how are you going to live the rest of your life with a compound leg fracture and a torn ACL?
Yeah, it's a fair point. You know, I think that for her, I mean, I was shocked, really. I mean, torn ACL, you think, I mean, looking at the NBA, the NFL, typically they're carried off the field or the court, and it's done. You know, no question about it. But for her to go out, play through it, like you said, I was a little surprised by it, you know, and unfortunately that was the result. But for her, I mean, just hoping the best for her recovery and, yeah, just hoping she can be okay through it. But I want to move on, though, and talk about some of the figure skating. It was incredible what we've seen from Team USA. They won gold in the team event, and how about Ilya Malinin? Absolutely incredible. The 21-year-old so-called quad god has been incredible. And it's in his Olympic debut, just 21 years old, and what he's been able to do, I mean, what we've seen really never before. Dominic, what have you seen from him?
The brother did a backflip on an Olympic stage while doing figure skating. He didn't even get that much score for it. Why did he do it? I don't know. But hey, he did it, and it was great. And yes, he did amazing quads, and he had a great, he scored 200 points, which is by, I believe that's like 18 points away from the record.
Yep.
On just a random night on the Olympics, he did a backflip. I mean, you just don't see that often.
Yeah, you don't see that hardly at all. Backflips for a long time were actually banned in the Olympics, and for him to go out and do that, the first one he did was on 2 feet. And then that one to secure the gold, it was on 1. So absolutely incredible for Ilya. What did you see from him, Sam?
Yeah, he was outstanding. He did his short program for the his skating event. He had an outstanding 108.16 points in that, which puts him in gold medal contention right now. And then he will perform his free skate on Friday. You know, like he's mentioned, the quad god. His parents actually both competed in the Olympics way back when for one of the European countries. I can't pronounce it off the top of my head. And so he's really been the standard. And also, he was left off of the 2022 Beijing team because he was 17. And so I think that he was finally getting his opportunity to shine, and I think he's making the most of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to make your Olympic debut with a backflip with 200 points and securing the gold medal for Team USA and the team figure skating event, I mean, I don't know what more you can ask for. He's definitely going to be a staple of the sport for years to come. We'll have to see how he does later this week. And yeah, it's going to be exciting. But guys, I mean, there's just so many sports to talk about, and I want to keep moving on into hockey. This is going to be big time. I want to start with the women's because they've been incredible. 4-0 so far. They had big-time wins over Czechia, Finland, Switzerland, and Canada. What have you seen from them, Dom?
Well, I mean, the women's, beating our rival Canada 5-0 in the prelims is absolutely insane, and a great win for us. But yes, they've destroyed Switzerland, Finland, and Czechia. I believe Czechia was the only team in that trio to even score a point.
Yes, they scored 1.
They scored
were
1
the only
point.
ones to do it.
And in that Canada game, the first goal actually happened in the first 4 minutes of the game, which is terrifying. And I think that women's team is really going to go and do something, if not win gold.
Yeah, we've seen dominance from them so far. Sam, what are your expectations for this team going forward, especially when we have the potential of medals coming up?
Yeah, I definitely think that, like my partner here mentioned, that the United States has outscored their opponents 20-1 here in the prelims, you know, to secure that Group A championship. I think the expectation is to go win gold. I think that this team is as talented as it has been in a long time, and I think that with some of the girls on this team, including Caroline Harvey, who had a goal against Canada, Hannah Bilka scored 2 goals against Canada, and Layla Edwards is the first black woman to represent United States women's hockey in our country's history. So I think that shattering the ice in and out of the rink, is going to be great for this team, and hopefully they can play Freebird while they're getting their gold medals and then sing the Star Spangled Banner.
Absolutely. They've been impressive. Canada looking like little sister out there. 5-0. I mean, it just doesn't get better.
It's early.
It's early. It's true. You know, we don't want to get cocky, but it's been impressive what the women's have been able to do. I mean, I just can't wait to see how they continue to go through this tournament. And then for the men's, the schedule a little bit further back. They're just about to play their first game tonight against Latvia. It's going to be exciting for the men's team. This is a stacked team and looking to get revenge after losing to Canada in the First Nations face-off a couple years back. Dom, what are you looking to see from this men's team tonight?
I mean, they're pros. They know how to play hockey. I don't expect anything bad, and they certainly will do great. Just play like Team USA, play how you know to play, and win gold. That's all you can ask, and that's all they will do.
Wow, okay, so some bold predictions there. It's definitely been a while since USA men's has secured gold. Sam, do you think they can change that this year?
I definitely think they can. And actually, the United States played earlier today, so they're going to re-show that later. They beat Latvia 5-1.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, so they're already off to a great start. I think that this United States team is the best that they've had since the Do You Believe in Miracles and Al Michaels on NBC. I think, and I honestly hope that the people that were on that Four Nations team remember what it felt like when O Canada was being played and they were winning that tournament. I genuinely think that with the talent on this team, with Austin Matthews and Jake Ottinger from your Dallas Stars, I think that it's time to bring one back home for the boys.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Sam, for that. Time change definitely got us there. Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Already happened earlier today. So impressive win there for Team USA over Latvia. And now, I mean, that was just the beginning. Obviously, they're going to have a slate to go in the prelims, and then eventually we'll get into the medals round. Dom, what do you think is the key to victory for Team USA, especially as they start to face some tougher competition?
I mean, it's just play like you have been playing and, get nice assists, make sure you're playing good defense, steal the puck away when you need to steal the puck away, and just play hockey like you know how to play. I mean, you're not going to face the tough competition, unlikely, until you get later in the rounds.
Yeah, and then Sam, how much do you think the sheer fact of just having NHL players here is really going to play into this for Team USA?
I think that having the best that your country has to offer in arguably the biggest Winter Olympic sport is going to be an advantage for the Americans, but also you have to remember with Canada, they've got a bunch of the great NHL players, but also the Olympics just announced that they're going to be striking down more on fighting and stuff. So with how much the United States and Canada don't like each other already, if they were to have to play each other, like he mentioned, they're going to have to play hockey and not play Street Fighter.
All right, we might not see a repeat of the Four Nations fights then. I guess that is what it is. But we're going to move on and talk about UNT basketball coming up next.
The do's and don'ts of the Pole Rec Center. See that man over there? Please do not hog weights. Instead, do this. Another important part is having an attentive spotter. See, here is an example of a non-attentive spotter. Instead, do this. Now we head to the track, which should be pretty easy, just it's important to pay attention to the way the track goes. Remember to wipe down the equipment after you're done using it. The towels are provided by the gym, so it's pretty easy to wipe down the equipment when you are done. Thank you for using the Pole Recreation Center.
Has this ever happened to you?
My bike! My bike is gone!
Stolen bikes are an epidemic sweeping college campuses across America.
What am I supposed to do?
It's quite simple. The We Mean Green Fund has partnered with the UNT Police Department to offer free bike locks to any UNT student with a bike. Just show up with your bike in tow and ask.
Now I'll never lose my bike ever again.
Enough worrying. Get your bike lock today.
Welcome back to SportsZone. We're going to talk some UNT basketball because they have a game tonight against Memphis in just a couple minutes now. This is their first linear ESPN game happening here in Denton ever. So a big-time game for UNT against Memphis, and this is a team that hasn't maybe had the best start to the season. Joining me to talk about it, Q Cherry and Sam Little. So guys, it's been an interesting start to the season. I would say a bit inconsistent so far for UNT. Q, what have you seen from them so far?
What I've seen, I like watching our women's team more than our men's, but what I've seen from my own eyes is that once UNT gets down, it's pretty much wraps from there. The UNT men's basketball team, for some reason, can't seem to play from behind. They suck at playing catch-up. They start hosting up hasty shots, and just start playing out of body. Right. Maybe you've seen something different from me?
No, I definitely think that this season has been full of inconsistent offense, and then just the injury bug has not been UNT's friend this year. So this Memphis game, like we'll talk about here in a second, it's kind of put up or shut up time for UNT.
Yeah, definitely. This is a team that, as you guys said, it's just been rough. They're 12-11 right now. Or excuse me, they're sorry, I don't have the exact record. I think it was 13-11.
13.
Yes. All right. So for them, they're down though in conference pretty severely. They just haven't been able to get the big time wins when it's needed. Do you think that can change today, Sam? Yeah,
I think so. I think that if you're gonna go slay the dragon of Memphis basketball, then this is gonna be the year to do it. For North Texas playing tonight, they are 1-2 against Penny Hardaway when he's been at Memphis, and then this game's gonna be defensive led. This matchup's gonna be of the two top leading stealers in the American Athletic Conference, with Jashawn Stevenson with 51 steals, and then Memphis's Doug McDaniel has 52. So I think this is going to be a good old slobber knocker.
If I may blow things out of proportion, this might be the most important game of the season so far. Because if we've seen from our UNT men's, they have some losses against really good opponents, and they have some wins versus some maybe not stellar comp, and even some losses against people we definitely shouldn't have lost. If we lose against Memphis here, it kind of seems like this season's going even further down on the downtrend. So maybe I'm blowing this game out of proportion, but this seems like a must-win game. You need to be competitive here, or otherwise morale tanks, locker room might not be so good, and just overall downtrend. But maybe I'm tripping. I don't know though.
I don't think you are, Q. I think that this absolutely is a must-win for UNT because they've just had a bunch of games throughout the season where just losing close games, they've had some double overtime, and they just haven't been able to get it done when it matters most. This is a team, though, that did have an impressive win coming off against UTSA. However, not the best of competition at all as they sit down at the bottom of the American Conference. So for them, do you think they can at least maybe take some momentum away from that and bring it into tonight's game, Sam?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Like my host here mentioned, UNT is 4-3 in games decided by three points or less, 4-6 in games decided by 4 points or less, and then they are 5-6 in games decided by 5 or fewer. So the ball's just gonna have to bounce their way tonight. UNT's defense tonight is they are 22nd in the nation in defense at 62.2 points per game. And they love to force steals. UNT averages 9.9 steals a game, which is 7th in the nation. They've had 10 steals in 9 of their last 13 games, and also the starters for UNT are averaging almost 7.3 steals a game, which is better than actually 8 of the teams in our conference by their totals. So UNT's definitely forcing on the defensive side. On the offensive side of the ball, David Terrell Jr. is going to have to be the guy. Over the last 9 games, he's averaging 15 points on 43% shooting, 4 assists, and 4 rebounds. Also, Deshaun Stevenson, who has kind of been the do-it-all guy, he's having 17 and 3 and then 2. But then also Cole Franklin has come on over here in the last couple of games. He's actually from here in the DFW area from DeSoto. He had a career high of 19 against Rice, and then broke his career high against UTSA, where he had 13 of his 21 points in the second half, and he's just shooting the lights out. And also, you need another guy to score, especially since Will McClendon's been out since November with his knee injury. So it's just going to kind of be a good game. Also, UNT's going to have to be able to spread the wealth tonight. They are 11-0 when they have had 13 or more assists in a game. So it's going to be offense by committee tonight, and then for the Memphis, with Penny and his boys coming in, Memphis, their record's kind of misleading. They're still a good basketball team. It's still a Penny Hardaway-led team, but if UNT's going to start getting some momentum back in the conference race, where they're sitting in 11th, then it's going to have to start tonight in the Super Pit on ESPN.
Yeah, Memphis, a similar record, 12-11, but 7-4 in conference, and that's so key because, of course, those early non-conference games just don't really matter when it really gets down to it. So, as you said, the record a little bit deceiving, but as you said, UNT, Cole Franklin, incredible over the last few games. Really, you talked about Will McClendon, went down with that torn ACL very early in the season. He was kind of supposed to be the lead man for this UNT team. Unfortunately, you lose him, and that's definitely been hard, but like you said, guys like Cole Franklin stepping up for this team. Q, who else do you think can step up for UNT?
Who do I think? Honestly, I don't know any names. But who I think can step up though, just the guards. The guards from Memphis. No, what we need to do is stop the guards from Memphis is from getting downhill. They primarily generate all their points from getting to the bucket and to the cup. If our guards, any of our guards, whatever your name might be, all you have to do is stop them from getting to the paint, and even more, don't let them get to the line and stay out of foul trouble.
All right, Q, you playing casual fan today?
I am playing casual fan. I'm sorry, UNT. I love our school. Go Eagles. That's the name for it. But, personally, I like our women's team a little bit more. I'm sorry.
I'm going to ask for a one shot on camera 3, if you can do that for me, please. It's Go Mean Green, just to be clear. Yes. So just to make that clear, Q. But UNT national TV tonight. So if you haven't learned their names, it's time to learn them now. Tell me a little bit more, Sam. How do you think this team going in against Memphis, all the stakes, can they get the win tonight, and what do you think it's going to take?
I think it's going to take it's going to start on the defensive end of the floor. You're going to have to go take possessions away from Memphis. You have all these steals racked up. It's going to take that. It's going to take not getting out rebounded. I saw a stat the other day. UNT's like 2-9 when they get out rebounded. So It's going to start on the defensive end of the floor and then make your foul shots. UNT is 60% from the line. Or no, they were like 68% from the line as a team. Got to get your foul shots, especially with ESPN. You don't want your people back home because, half the team's from Chicago. You don't want your people back home realizing you can't make a free throw on national TV for the first time in school history. So I think that's going to be the key. And then just like my Eagle host over here said, stay out of foul trouble. And hopefully it leads to a Mean Green win and we can light the tower tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be the goal. And then for UNT, as you mentioned, I mean, it's been up and down, but I think what they've shown is the ability to compete. Unfortunately, the free throws have not really been there. That's something they've struggled with since the beginning of the year. They really got to get that up. But now they're tight in this is American Conference where they're down at 10th right now. Do you think that this game can at least carry some momentum to try to get them at least back in the race, Sam?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, they're in 11th because of last night. The teams ahead of them, a couple of teams won, so they dropped down to 11. So as of this very moment, the season ended, they're not making the conference tournament.
Yeah.
But I think that, we're in the home stretch of conference play. They've got to get a good win tonight and also got to get a good win this weekend. They travel to Philadelphia to play Temple. So you're going to have to start winning, because that's the only way you're going to be able to get back in this race. You're going to have to string together some great wins. You've got the guys to do it. It's just about Jimmy's and Joe's at this point. Can our basketball players play better than yours? So I think that if it's going to start, it's got to start tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a team that it's definitely in a transition year. This is a team that made it to the Final Four of the NIT last season. It was incredible, but all of those players are gone. This is just the reality of UNT and the reality of the transfer portal. Just you lost your entire team, you lost your coach. It's been a start from scratch, really. And Coach Daniel Robinson, I want to get your take on this, Q. First year as head coach, what have you seen from him so far?
What have I seen from him?
Oh, no.
Oh, no. First of all, whoa. I may be not the biggest fan of our men's team, but I have eyes, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have eyes. So what I've seen from our coach, honestly, you might want to ask a little bit more from him. I've seen a lot of hero ball, not too much sets. So if I had to grade him, season ends today, I give him a cool C+. I'd rather see some more half-court sets when the offense gets a little stale. And that's really about it. I don't know if I have time to get into more depth to it.
All right, we're just about out of time, but it's going to be an exciting game. It should be tipping off just about now, so be sure to catch that on ESPN for UNT Mean Green. We'll have to see it, but we're going to take a break and then talk about NBA trade deadline recap coming up next.
TRIO is a federally funded grant program. It was funded in the 60s, and it supports student success and student retention. So we have a lounge, computer lab, free printing for our students. We also provide one-on-one advising services for our students, as well as career exploration and prep. Students who are eligible for TRIO include those who are first-gen, low income, or have a disability. They just have to meet one of those three. There are many benefits to being in TRIO. Some of the general ones are the services we provide. The other benefits include creating a sense of community, a sense of belonging, and giving a safe space for students to come. Students can apply for a program by either coming in person and scanning a QR code, or they can also visit our webpage that has a direct link to our online application. And students need to know that we are here to help.
Can I see your voter registration, please? All right, you're good. No registration, no entry. All right. Let me see your voter registration card, please.
I'm not registered to vote.
No registration, no entry.
Dude, my friends are already in there.
No registration, no entry.
What the?
Join the club. Register to vote today.
Welcome back to SportsZone. I'm your host, Steven Lucero, and we're going to talk about the NBA trade deadline. It passed this past Thursday, and there were some major moves. So joining me to talk about it, Carson Stark and Tina Orozco. Guys, this was a trade deadline of very big proportions. I mean, looking around the league, we'll get to it team by team, but I want to start with the Dallas Mavericks because we are now just about a year removed from the infamous Luka trade. I can't believe it's already been a year, but here we are, and the player that you traded for, Anthony Davis, is now a Washington Wizard. So we'll break down the trade. Tina, what did you see from this, and does this just mark failure for the Mavs in this whole experiment?
I think it was an embarrassment from the start, from losing Luka. It's just a lot of distrust in the DFW area and for the Mavs fans. And them trying to build their franchise around Anthony Davis just didn't really strike, and it didn't really stick with us. None of this should have happened in the first place, but I don't think this is a bad idea for the Mavs. We're kind of trying to refocus, rebrand a little. Hopefully this kind of puts a focus on our younger players, of course. The Mavs aren't doing the greatest. They're 12th in the Western Conference right now. But it kind of, the fact that they had to make this trade kind of got hindered because of Cooper Flagg's success right now. So, I mean, just because he's doing so well, it kind of got put to the backside. We're just going to regroup and hopefully do better next season.
Yeah, that's kind of the reality. I do want to break down the trade. So basically, Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell, Dante Exum, and Jaden Hardy over to Washington. In return, Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, Marvin Bagley III, a couple first-round picks and some second-round picks. Also, Malachi Brannon, who was flipped over. You get Tyus Jones in exchange from him in an additional trade. So for the Mavs, I mean, you got more first-round picks than you did from the Luka trade, so I think that's a win. I mean, it wasn't, the King's ransom, but you can't really expect that knowing Anthony Davis and the fact that he hardly played for this Mavs team. So, Carson, how would you grade this trade? Do you think it was the right move for Dallas?
For the Mavericks, I think it was quite clearly the only move they could have made.
Yes.
Nico Harrison, unfortunately, kind of ruined DFW as a whole. You got rid of him early on this season, and you have Cooper Flagg on the rise, right? Anthony Davis, unfortunately, he's a great player when healthy. But when he's not healthy, you can't really do anything with him. Got an aging Kyrie Irving who's, a lasting star in Dallas. So, unfortunately, you never got to see AD and Kyrie put together. But I think just for what the Mavs had to deal with in the Luka trade, whatever was going through Nico Harrison's mind, you got at least some draft picks. Like you said, more first-round draft picks than you did for Luka Doncic. And you get some good pieces. A.J. Johnson has been playing decently well for Washington. You're building around Cooper Flagg now, who is averaging 23 points since 2019. Of course, he had 49 points to break the Mavs rookie record. I don't want to say against the Hornets and his former teammate Conker Nipples. So Cooper Flagg's been absolutely insane this season, and he's been doing a lot better since getting moved out to his natural position on the wing. And they have some good pieces. You still got Kyrie Irving, who, of course, is still an all-star level player. Whether we see him this season or not, I'm not sure, with it being such a loaded draft class and the Mavs really not even fighting for a play-in position. So I think that the Mavericks made the best situation. And the best part is Nico Harrison's gone.
Yeah, I agree. Best of a bad situation. Unfortunately, the moment Luka left this team, I think, we were unfortunately going to have to face the reality of life after Luka, and that's basically what they've been doing. But I think, like you said, just getting Anthony Davis and his contract off your books, I think is really the best, and as you said, the only move for this team. Marvin Bagley had a good debut for this Mavericks team, a double-double for him, some blocks. So I think you see some pieces. You see some young talent. You got some draft picks. And Cooper Flagg, of course, has been incredible, but unfortunately some bad news for him as well. Suffered a mid-foot sprain. He's going to be out for the Lakers game and the All-Star Rising Stars game. So for Cooper Flagg, I mean, hopefully it's not long-term, but it just feels like, what can we get for the Mavs? Carson, how impactful do you think this injury is for him?
I don't think it's too big of a concern. I think it came, honestly, at the right time. There's never a right time for an injury, but, going into All-Star break, you have at least those 8 days off. The Rising Stars thing, All-Star weekend's kind of fallen off as a whole, so it's not that big of a deal. But I don't think it's anything to be too concerned about. And like I said, the Mavericks almost want to tank now. So, get Cooper Flagg healthy, make sure it's not anything that's going to turn to a long-term, like a Liz Frank injury or anything like that, like we saw with Chet Holmgren and some other guys, even in the NFL. So I wouldn't be too concerned if I was a Mavs fan. Just let him rest. He's had a good season, and, we got guys coming back, so not too worried about it.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll have the All-Star break, rest up, should be all right. But I want to look at the Washington Wizards, because in this trade, you get Anthony Davis, among others. We'll see if they actually end up playing for Washington. D'Angelo Russell didn't report. There might be some buyouts there. But also, they got Trae Young in an earlier trade from the Hawks. And now, I mean, you look at this Wizards team. I mean, if you told someone from a year ago Anthony Davis and Trae Young would be playing together on the Washington Wizards, I don't know what they'd tell you. They'd probably say you're crazy. But, Tina, for this Washington team, what do you think? Does this work out for them?
I think it's definitely going to have to be an adjustment. It's a big move. I think it works out for them. I really don't. I guess it's just going to have to be an adjustment for them, really, to see if that dynamic works and how that betters them later on in the season after the break.
Yeah, obviously they're still waiting for them to both get healthy. It definitely was not a nice performance here against Cleveland. Do you think the future is brighter for Washington, or do you just think that maybe this was an injury-riddled move, Carson?
I think the future is very bright in Washington, to be honest. I love some of the pieces they have. Trae Young, and when healthy, is a great player, former All-Star, a guy who can not only score but get his teammates involved. You have a lot of good young pieces like Trey Johnson. You have Keyshawn George, who had a great, I want to say it was one at the beginning of the season when he played against the Mavericks, had a great game. Anthony Davis, as I mentioned earlier, when healthy, was an MVP candidate at the beginning of the season last year with the Lakers before getting dealt to Dallas. So I think I really like the Wizards' direction, as well as a team like the Hornets. They have a really good direction out in the East, and with the Eastern Conference usually always being weaker, I think they really have a good chance. And they made a great move out of the Bradley Beal contract, the John Wall days. I think the rebuild is actually on a high trajectory for them. So I'm really a big fan of the trade with Trae Young, Anthony Davis, Trey Johnson, who's a DFW native. I think the Wizards' future is very bright.
All right, so speaking of the Wizards and then the Cavs there, I want to talk about the other big-time trade is Cleveland. They send Darius Garland over to LA in exchange for the beard, James Harden. Tina, what do you think about this trade, and do you think this is a win for Cleveland, or do you think it's a win for the Clippers?
It's hard to say. I know James Harden has been gunning for a championship for a long time now. He's an older guy, though, so, is that going to kind of hinder their trade, and is that going to work out for them rather than the off? He does want his championship, but is that going to really, pay off in the end? They got younger talent now. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting because you look at the Clippers. I mean, also, of course, trading Zubac over to Indiana and the Pacers. So it just feels like now, what is Kawhi doing? It feels like he's kind of the only vet left. You waived Chris Paul earlier in the season as well, and then he somehow was traded at the deadline. So it felt like that was some roster maneuvering by them. But it's interesting because this is a team in Cleveland trying to win now. You have a good roster. Do you think James Harden is the piece to put him over the top, Carson?
I think James Harden was a great piece. I kind of want to talk about some other moves they made. They got Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder from Sacramento, which I think provides great depth just on the bench because as we see with, teams like Oklahoma City and, Boston who won the year before that, depth matters a lot in the NBA. It's not so much about your top-heavy guys. So do you have guys who can come in and make shots and also defend the ball? Defense, of course, wins championships. So going back to James Harden, I think it's a great pickup. Darius Garland has been dealing with that toe that nagged him throughout the end of the regular season last year as well going into the playoffs. And, James Harden's just he's playing at a high level. Even I want to say he's, 36 years old, 37 years old. He's another guy who has a great veteran leadership, I think kind of was shown in the Netflix show.
Starting Five.
Yeah, Starting Five. I think it kind of showed what kind of teammate he is and how dedicated he is. It kind of confused me whenever the rumors came out that he was going to be traded from the Clippers. But I actually like the trade a lot for Cleveland. I think they're in a win-now mode. And like I said, the East isn't too good. You have teams like Detroit and New York, of course. But I like the move for Cleveland. But I honestly like the other trades they made more with the Kings with Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis, to be honest with you.
Okay, yeah, I think it definitely sets up the Cavs for contention. It just didn't quite work out last season. I think, a move, they made it, and I can't fault them at all for that. And then, of course, we're looking at the Clippers, Ivica Zubac over to the Indiana Pacers. Tina, how do you feel about this trade for Indiana? Of course, Halliburton's down right now, so it's kind of odd, but how do you think that big man really plays into their future plans? No, you're good. But no, I think it's okay. And I think that it's interesting because you look at this team and they're just sort of in limbo right now because you have a Pacers team that was, don't forget, in the NBA Finals last year. Tyrese Halliburton playing through that calf strain, unfortunately, goes down with a torn Achilles. But I think this really sets them up for the future, for next season and beyond, just to get that big man presence. And hopefully, with a healthy Halliburton back, can be good for Indiana. And then Jaren Jackson Jr. was the other big man traded over to the Jazz. He also has the injury going on, so he'll miss the remainder of the season. So just a lot of injury-riddled trades. But I want to talk about one more. Kristaps Porzingis going to the Golden State Warriors in exchange for Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield. Carson, how are you feeling about this trade?
I was really confused at this trade. There's been a lot of rumblings the past couple seasons about Kuminga being dealt out of Golden State. And I think they kind of just got sick of it. They're trying to get him out of there. You trade for an aging Kristaps Porzingis, who of course we know is injury prone. Didn't even play much against the Mavericks in the NBA Finals a few years ago. He has this weird illness going on, and whenever he's on the court, he's decently productive. But it's not really the Porzingis of now 8 years ago with the Knicks. So I think it was really interesting. Honestly, the future of the Warriors is very confusing to me. Jimmy Butler unfortunately just went down with a torn ACL. Steph Curry, of course, is still one of the best players in the NBA. With his shooting ability, that's we'll probably never see again. But it's just really confusing because they're an old team. They got rid of Buddy Hield as well. So to be honest with you, that trade was really confusing. I do want to touch on the Pacers real quick. I think the Pacers will be very scary with Zubac, who's a great defender, a great roller, will mix well with Pascal, and also the Clippers. I think they'll build on Benedict Mathurin in the future.
Yeah, definitely, and I agree with that take there for the Warriors. Unfortunately, a team that's older, a team that's injured, and you get Kristaps Porzingis. So don't know if that'll work out for them, but we're going to move over to talk about some MLB Spring Training.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Hasbell, and I'm joining you here today in the Union Parking Garage. Today we're going to be going over how to drive safely in the parking garage. Let's go see. Oh my God! Oh my God! This girl just got hit by a car. Let's go see what happened. Ma'am, are you okay? Are you okay?
Did you see that lady hit me with a car?
Yeah, we did. I got it all on video.
Oh my God.
Let's go over here and talk about how we can prevent that.
Yeah, not the hospital.
Well, right now we're going to ask you a couple questions on how we can drive safely in the parking lot. What are ways that we can be aware of our surroundings?
Oh, we can look both ways.
Jenna, also, how about putting the distractions away?
Yes, just like our phones, turning our music down, and also not focusing on our passengers.
Where can you get information on how to get a parking pass?
Transportation.unt.edu.
If you park in a garage, make sure you pay on the app or look for further instructions on how you should pay.
And remember, no pass, no park. Let's all try to keep our Mean Green community safe.
Remember, we're all in this together.
Drive safe.
All right, look up here. 1, 2, 3. Mom, Dad, I got it.
You're right, Mom. I have.
Welcome back to SportsZone. I'm your host, Steven Lucero, and we're going to talk about some MLB Spring Training. Pitchers and catchers reported just a couple weeks ago. Joining me to talk about it, Jaden Crumpton and Alex Salazar. Guys, I want to start with the Rangers because they've had a big-time off season going into spring training. I mean, it's been, I think, about as a big one as we've seen since maybe you got Corey Seager and Marcus Semien. And now some of these core pieces on the way out. So I think the big move was, of course, Adolis Garcia and Jonah Heim being non-tendered off this team. Garcia goes to Philadelphia and the Phillies. Jonah Heim just was signed with the Atlanta Braves a couple days ago. Excuse me if I can talk. But this is very interesting, I think, for the Rangers because you have these World Series cornerstones, the best of 2023, and now here we are in the Big 26, and we've just seen a complete turnover. Jaden, what have you seen from these moves? We talked about it a little bit. Do you think this was right for Texas to move on?
Just talking about specifically Garcia and Heim, I've said this again and again. First and foremost, beyond being a fan of the players on the team, I'm a fan of the Texas Rangers. Mm-hmm. I want the Texas Rangers to succeed and be the best team they can. And right now, that doesn't involve Adolis Garcia and Jonah Heim. They're legends of the franchise. They could get statues, and I'd be like, yeah, makes sense. That's fine. But they don't need to be on this team right now, right? They're eating up a lot of money, and we're already so close to that luxury tax threshold, which I know Ray Davis is a big stickler about. Yep. For whatever reason at this point in the game. That's a whole nother thing. But yeah, Heim and Garcia are eating up, I think, like $12 million combined last season, and those numbers could have increased, and they've just been bad players. They've been completely declining in every aspect of the game. Both of them were negative defenders for the first time in their careers last season, which was kind of what made Heim a good player before. He was never very strong with the bat. Mm-hmm. So they just kind of have no value, and it makes no sense to be paying them this money to be on the team. Even if it's not the most significant amount, you'd rather allocate that to making the team better.
Yeah, it's really difficult because, these are franchise legends, really, World Series champions. But as you said, I think it was just maybe time. Alex, how are you feeling about these moves?
Yeah, I honestly feel the same way. I think he described it perfectly. As beloved as Heim and Garcia are, these two could get, like you said, statues, Rangers Hall of Fames, even their numbers hung up in the rafters. But all good things must come to an end, and unfortunately, it was time for both Garcia and Heim. Garcia, I would have liked to have re-signed, but I understand why you needed to. Like you said, his bat had fallen off a cliff off of 23, and his defense, which he was known for his entire career here in Texas, had seen a decline. And for Heim, like you said, his bat was never his strong suit, and his defense is what carried him to an all-star appearance in 23 and you just saw it in this previous year. He was almost towards the end unplayable.
Yeah, and it's the unfortunate reality and really the downfall of some of these players. And then Marcus Semien being the third of these, you trade him over to the Mets in exchange for Brandon Nimmo. Once again, a player who was incredible in his first couple years with the Rangers, just didn't really quite have that last season. Struggled from the plate. His defense not quite as good as maybe we've seen it before. You ship him over to New York for Brandon Nimmo. Alex, do you think this was the right move to send him over, Nimmo, in exchange?
It's honestly tough to say. I think like with the other two, it definitely was time. His bat, just like the other two, had fallen off of a cliff. But, I mean, there is promise with Nimmo. Last season for the Mets, 262 average, 25 home runs, 92 RBIs. So there is promise. He does play a different position, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do with, him, and maybe you put Josh Smith at second in place of Semien, with Sebastian Walcott being out for the 26th season. Yes. So going to be very interesting to see what they do with Nimmo and where they play him. But I think it definitely was time to move off of Semien.
Yeah. Jaden, do you think this was the right move? And I think another portion, we talked about this before, is the Mets absorbing his contract. How impactful is that?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I'll talk about when asked about this trade, because that really is what this move boils down to. I think, number one, it's that we're getting a cheaper contract, and then also you're getting rid of a 35-year-old second baseman who had, I think, like an 85 OPS plus last season when you're in need of offense. And you get Brandon Nimmo, who's, not a superstar, but he's consistently been a good above-average MLB hitter, which is something we really need right now, consistency, right? We've got all these players that go up and down. Our 23 World Series run was kind of on the back of like a perfect storm of everybody having career years, and we saw what happened after that when everybody kind of regressed to the mean. So having a consistent hitter like that is a really big deal for us. Getting that money off the books, I'm a big fan of that move.
Yeah, I agree. Once again, a tough move, but I think it was just the right one for this Texas team at this point. The other big trade, though, I want to talk about is, of course, Mackenzie Gore coming to Texas. This one was interesting because, for me, the compensation. You give up 5 prospects in exchange for Mackenzie Gore. And Mackenzie Gore, he's a weird player because I think it's a bit deceiving. You look at last season, it's like, oh, this is a 2025 MLB All-Star. But he had a 4 ERA, and it's just like this was a tale of 2 seasons basically within one for Mackenzie Gore. The first half, incredible, deserving of that All-Star, and then the second half just was not the same player. Alex, how do you feel about this trade, and do you think Mackenzie Gore can get back to that All-Star form?
Mackenzie Gore is definitely one of those MLB The Show franchise mode legends. He's one of those guys in the show you want to build your team around. But like you said, the All-Star appearance is a little bit deceiving. That first half of the season, yes, he definitely earned his All-Star appearance, but it was that second half of the year that really was not good. And the issue is you gave up a lot of players. Gavin Feene, Alejandro Rosario, Devin Fitzgerald, Yermi Cabrera, and Abelmick Ortiz. Like those are prospects, and those are 5 for one guy. So you need to be 100% certain that this one guy is going to hit. And one All-Star appearance throughout his career so far, I don't know if it's going to be worth it. Time will tell, but I'm intrigued, but I don't like the price that they got Mackenzie Gore for.
Yeah, it's tough, and I agree with that. I mean, 5 prospects. Alimbic Ortiz, you mentioned at the end, was actually the least of those prospects. But honestly, I thought that was your future at first base. And it's difficult to see the young guys go in a farm system that has, kind of been depleted over recent years. Sebastian Walcott, the latest, going down, unfortunately, with that UCL injury. He'll miss the 2026 season. But Jaden, back to the Mackenzie Gore trade. Mackenzie Gore is a former top prospect. We've seen the flashes. Do you think he can live up to that? Do you think he can get back on track this season?
If he can, there's not really a sign of it anywhere. His underlying numbers are not that great. He just gets hit so hard, and it's hard to see how he would change that. The Rangers made Tyler Mahle a great pitcher who had been kind of mediocre throughout his career. So if I'm looking at this from a hopeful note, as a fan, I'll say, you know what? Maybe our pitching staff has improved so much that we can develop pitchers now, and we can unlock the hidden potential in some of these guys like we did with Mahle, and like we kind of recently did with Jack Leiter finally having his breakout. And so that's my hopeful take on it. I'm not a fan of the trade, I'll say that, but I think, yes, Mackenzie Gore can be a good pitcher, and this could end up paying off. But as of now, I'm a skeptic.
And the thing is, like you've also done that with Nathan Eovaldi. He was not one of those high-end pitchers when he came to Texas, and then he anchors what was one of the best starting pitching rotations in the MLB, and honestly won you the World Series in those games he pitched.
Yeah, and it's a good point. I mean, Nathan Eovaldi, I think we've gotten so used to him just being great. But yeah, I mean, he has really taken a next step with Texas. Kind of wish Mike Maddox was still here, the pitching coach. Unfortunate, I kind of lost there. Of course, brand new regime here with Skip Shoemaker, so we'll have to see. But one more pitcher I got to talk about is, well, we're on World Series legends who maybe haven't been as great in recent years. Jordan Montgomery is back. Jordan Montgomery is a Texas Ranger once again. Montgomery, he went to the Arizona Diamondbacks, who of course Texas beat in the World Series, and just was not the same guy. He ends up having to have Tommy John surgery, so he won't be ready for the start of the season, but this could be a maybe post-All-Star break piece for Texas. Jaden, I'll ask you, how do you feel about Jordan Montgomery back? Do you think this is just kind of like, yay, good for old times, or do you think he can really make an impact for Texas?
First off, I like our graphic, escaped Arizona. But yeah, I don't think Arizona was good for him, but I think I'm going to have to go with what you said about this just being a yay for the old times. We got a World Series champion on the roster. I just don't see him contributing very much. I just don't think he has it anymore. But yeah, it's cool. I guess we didn't it was I think $1.5 million his contract, right, for a year. So I'm not stressing myself out about it. It's cool we got Jordan Montgomery back on the roster, but it's not really going to be on my mind throughout the season.
Yeah, I believe just $1.25 million on that one. So definitely not breaking the bank with him. But hey, maybe the vibes at least will be there. And we will have to see, and we will talk about it next week as we are out of time today. Thank you guys so much for watching our season premiere of SportsZone. Make sure to give us a follow on our socials at NTTV Sports. Make sure to check out SportsZone next week on Tuesday. And then, of course, on Thursday, we will see you all next week.